Mr. Speaker, I rise today to share the story of Hadar Golden. Hadar was born in the Galilee region of Israel in 1991. He was a gifted young man, a person with a lively personality. He was an accomplished painter, and I'm told an inspiration to everybody that knew him. He served as a lieutenant in the Givati Brigade of the IDF. Mr. Speaker, I did not know Hadar personally, but during my time serving alongside the IDF, I knew so many that were just like him. I met some of the most humble and compassionate people that I've ever known. I chose to serve alongside the IDF because our friends in Israel fight for the same values that we fight to protect in our country: human dignity, freedom, and liberty. I can tell you from experience that we often label our uniforms with sentiments that are important to us. Hadar had his rifle belt embroidered with the words strength and humility. He fought not out of hatred for his enemy, but to protect his homeland and his family. He used the embroidery as a reminder that a soldier has the courage to use his weapon when needed, but even more importantly, has the humility to restrain from its use in the name of peace. But on August 1, 2014, when Hadar was only 23 years old, he was killed by Hamas terrorists, just hours after a ceasefire had been declared in the Protective Edge war in Gaza. Hamas terrorists maliciously dragged his body away from his home and into an underground tunnel. They stripped and left his clothing and have held his corpse ever since. We Americans, we are no strangers to the term missing in action, as we still have shamefully thousands unaccounted for in Southeast Asia. This is painful, an uncertain future that no family deserves, and this should never, ever be condoned. Last week, I had the opportunity to meet with Hadar's family. They are unable to give their son the proper burial because Hamas is holding his body hostage. Mr. Speaker, we know that Hamas does not value human life. They seek to destroy all that Israel and the United States hold dear. Even the last administration called for the condemning of this action in the strongest possible terms. They called it barbaric. We must now enter into a new chapter, one where we support our Israeli allies and stand side by side with them in the fight for freedom. This was a ceasefire that Israel entered into at the urging of former Secretary of State and the United Nations. They should bear some responsibility for ensuring his body is returned home. Mr. Speaker, I urge the United Nations to step up for what is right. Show some spine, show some resolve, and stand against Hamas, to not be a rug that Palestinians trounce across as they shop the United Nations to fulfill their agenda while never being held to account for their acts of terrorism and their acts against basic human dignity. And I urge the new administration to take the necessary steps to help bring Hadar home and ensure his family can finally give him a proper burial, the kind of burial that every soldier, regardless of their uniform, deserves.